I didn't actually know that much about Mr. Deepfakes. I had heard about the site before.
This is Eric Szeto. Eric is a senior reporter with the CBC's Visual Investigations Unit. That's how Ross Higgins at Bellingcat knew him.
We had a previous relationship with CBC, and kind of absurdly, I said to my editor, do you think they'd be interested in this? Of course they're going to be interested.
Bellingcat emailed us about a story they'd working on. It was an international collaboration about basically the most notorious deepfake porn site of the world. When they brought it to us, even just the initial email, and we looked at the website, I was actually like, this is crazy.
By this point, Ida Herskind, Zakaria, Hameed, and Ross had done everything they could from behind computer screens in Europe. They had usernames, passwords, IP addresses, all of it a pile of evidence that the person behind MrDeepfakes.com was David Doe. What they couldn't do was go and knock on his front door.
We were all sitting here in Europe, and none of us could go to Canada and confront him.
But Eric, based in Toronto, he could.
They wanted help tracking David Doe down and wanted help getting answers and really getting a sense of why he did it, whether he feels remorse, whether he has anything to say to the victims that are on the website. So these are the things that they were asking us to do.
Before signing on, Eric had to check things out himself. He's an investigative reporter, right? This story might have been crazy, but this was not the first time crazy things have landed in his inbox. And he has an opening question for when they do.
How do we kill a story? Just being a devil's advocate, trying to find a reason why this isn't a story.
Eric started doing his own digging. Could there be a gap in the research the Europeans had sent him? Could there be a different David Doe? Did all of this really actually line up?
And there were so many links, like it was so vast that for all the attempts of us going, okay, why is this not a story? It all always came back to David Doe in Ontario.
Eric and the CBC team write back, we're in.
Just think of it as them handing us a baton and saying, this is the hunt, right? How do we track him down?
Since MrDeepfakes.com hit the scene, over 70,000 deepfake porn videos targeting thousands of people have been posted. Now, almost a year after Ida Herskind started her investigation in Copenhagen, the digital chase is over. And on the ground in Toronto, the real-world chase is on. I'm Sam Cole, and this is the final episode of Understood, Deepfake Porn Empire. Episode 4, The Fake Porn Pharmacist.
So I'll read just a bit of what our letter was, and I'll read you some of the allegations. So we said, to David Doe, I'm a journalist at the CBC, working in conjunction with...
If you're leveling these kinds of allegations at someone, you can't just show up at their house with a camera. You need to give them ample chances to respond first. So the first step was for Eric and his team to send David Doe an email.
Our reporting will identify you as the key person behind Mr. Deepfakes. We're requesting an on-camera interview with you. We'd like to include...
It's straightforward. We know you're involved in Mr. Deepfakes. We want to talk to you.
Can you acknowledge receipt of this email? No response.
They sent it to 4 different email addresses, each attached to one of David Doe's domains and usernames.
They even put an email tracker so they could see that David Doe was opening the email multiple times without responding.
He never replied to any of them. So they had to try something else.
We wanted to deliver a letter to him in person.
Which means they needed to find him in real life.
So we called his work.
Please wait while I transfer your call. Hi, Pharmacist.
Hi, David Doe, please.
I think he's on lunch break.
Okay.
Can you call maybe half an hour later?
Half an hour? Yeah, we can call back. This is a big moment for us, right? We now know he's working today, he's on lunch. So we decided we needed to go in the hospital to hand deliver this letter to him. We're going to get this letter to him this day.
Okay, Most hospitals have 2 pharmacies, one for the public that anyone can access, and somewhere in the middle of the maze that is most big hospitals is another, the inpatient pharmacy. That's the one where David Doe worked. And to get to it, you need clearance, which Eric did not have.
So we're like, okay, how are we gonna do this?
Just go downstairs.
Downstairs?
Yeah, that's inpatient.
Okay, thanks. Here we are wandering the hospital, trying to figure out how do we find an inpatient and how do we get into a place that requires an access card, essentially.
Eric's a video reporter, but he's not going to film inside a hospital without permission. So he hits record on his voice memo app and drops his phone in his pocket.
Hi there, I'm just looking to speak to a pharmacist in inpatient there. I was told to come down this way. So we were walking around the hospital, we were asking people, I remember like, hey, do you know where inpatient pharmacy is? And then he finally pointed me down the hall here. We went down an elevator, around a corridor, down this long hall. And then I knocked on the door of this place I'm not supposed to be at this point. And someone comes to the door. Hello. Is David Doe here by chance? And they're like, yep, 1 second. Okay, thank you. I'm standing in the doorway and he comes around the corner and I'm like, this is the David Doe from all the videos, from the photos we've seen. This is David Doe for sure. And I remember thinking, okay, here we go. Hey there. Sorry, this is your name? My name is Eric Szeto. I'm from the CBC. We've been trying to get on for the last few weeks about the story I'm working on with Mr. Deepfake. And I said, oh, I'm a reporter at CBC. We've been emailing you and you haven't responded. And he's like, I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, I'm at work right now.
Yeah. Can we go outside and talk with him? And I was thinking in my head, I don't want to do this in his workplace. It's awkward. It's uncomfortable. So I'm like, can we go outside? Here, can you take 5 minutes to come outside and talk to me?
I can't right now, no.
Okay. Well, but he said, I have to go back to work. And I'm like, hold on. We've been trying to get hold of you. I want to give you this letter. And he took it begrudgingly.
I had to. I'm sorry.
What do you thought? Well, there's a lot of people that want it.
I'm sorry.
You have my number. And so that was our first interaction with David Doe. It was crazy. Yeah, it was crazy. I was surprised at how kind of meek he was and truly not who you would expect to be the architect of the biggest deepfakes porn site in the world.
Now they're expecting to wait to see if David Doe responds, to deny any involvement in the website, to defend himself. Instead, something else entirely happens.
Almost immediately after, all of his social profiles went down. His family's social profiles went down, right? So now he's kind of like gone off the map, really, like digitally.
The Canadians send an update to the Europeans. Letter in hand, socials down. Ida Herskind remembers watching this unfold over email.
So they sort of knew that he got all the allegations. And after that, the next step was to confront him with a camera.
So Eric does a stakeout.
I don't know if you've done stakeouts or many, but I guess you see them in movies or TV shows, they're way more glamorous than they actually are because you're kind of just sitting in a car for hours on end.
They have 3 cars surrounding Doe's house. A producer in the front, a producer at the end of the block, and Eric in the back alley. The plan wasn't to try to interview David Doe at his front door, but to follow him when he left and try to talk to him somewhere neutral, like a parking lot.
So here we are, we're setting it up. It's like 6 a.m, we're hanging out here, and 5 hours goes by. People are walking their dogs or walking past our car, seeing 3 random people in the car, and no sign of anything, no sign of movement coming from his house. And we're like wondering, okay, we gotta call this. Like there's probably nothing happening. So we decided, let's call his work. And I remember we called the pharmacy and they said that he was not in today. I'm like, okay. And then we found out that he actually was gone. He actually gone on vacation. So we're like, is it because of us? Is it because something he had planned? We didn't know. There's so many questions we had as a team wondering what was going on.
Eric sends a message to Ross, Zach, and Ida. David Doe is gone.
All of us thought like, oh shit, what can we do? Is this a part of a big exit strategy? Did he leave the country for good now? Will he come back?
Ross, Higgins, and the team at Bellingcat decided to figure it out.
And suddenly, Bellingcat, they could see that he was active on his Airbnb profile.
And we found out, based on Airbnb reviews, that he'd gone to Portugal.
And he was renting a beautiful house close to Lisbon. And we didn't know at that time if he were on vacation with his family or if he were for real, like, leaving the country.
And it's while they're watching this unfold that something even wilder happens. Zakaria, Hameed.
We had a signal group where, we were going back and forth about findings and publishing and just, logistical stuff, right? And then one of the Bellingcat researchers just wrote, I think the website has shut down, LOL.
LOL.
Yeah. And then, we all scrambled. We went jumped on the website and everybody saw the same thing, shut down notice,
On May 4th, 2025, just weeks after Eric confronted David Doe in person, MrDeepfakes.com went dark.
And everybody were writing and calling each other, have you seen it today, this morning? The site is down. It has this shutdown notice.
And it basically said, a critical service provider has terminated service permanently. Data loss has made it impossible to continue operation.
We will not be relaunching. Any website claiming this is fake. This domain will eventually expire, and we are not responsible for future use. This message will be removed around 1 week.
It was all this message will self-destruct. Zach could hardly believe it.
Is this happening? Is this true? Isn't the website fucking down? Damn, we really did something for someone out there, And that was really nice to feel. I'm not gonna lie. That was a nice feeling to have.
It actually blew me away. Of all the stories that I've done, of all the investigations I've done, I never experienced something where this had been a direct result impact like this right away.
It was just this very, very nice feeling, because I had been so frustrated doing this project that it had no consequences. So having this platform being shut down was the greatest feeling ever.
We had an emergency meeting as a team and we were like, what are we gonna do here? The website's down. We knew we needed to get ahead of this.
With MrDeepfakes.com down and the headlines moving on, they know if they stop now, if they don't publish and name him now, David Doe could just slink away into obscurity. And the team was not prepared to let that happen.
One of the people I spoke to, she was a victim of this and was on Mr. Deepfake, said she felt like she was being raped, seeing her likeness, right? So it's about getting answers for the people that have been victimized. It really is about seeing and getting some type of response and knowing that person knows that they're harming people.
But at this point, they don't know if David Doe is even in the country, or if he is still abroad, if he'll ever come back. Eric had been checking.
Just to see if there are lights on in the house, no movement whatsoever. And I'm like, okay, he's not coming back in time before we publish.
But that Sunday, Eric went back one more time.
Probably not going to be there, but let's try it out, right? And as I was approaching his house, I saw lights. I basically screamed in my car. I said, holy shit, he's back. I was talking to myself. I'm on my own. I immediately took a photo of it and I sent it to the team. I said, he's back. We need to move on this right away.
The next morning, Eric and the CBC team are there.
I think it was 6 a.m., 5:30. We were out behind his house again, one car there, one car in the front, just to have all the angles covered. And 6 o'clock rolls around, 7 o'clock rolls around, 8 o'clock rolls around. no movement.
Nothing.
We're sitting there like, okay, we're running out of time, guys. Like, what are we doing here?
9 o'clock rolls around. People again are walking their dogs, driving their kids to school.
We were about to give up hope.
They're starting to pack it up, call it in, when Eric sees something.
Out of the corner of my eye, I see in the passenger mirror, a Tesla start to approach. It drives past us. And I see the garage door open at its house. And I freaked out. I was like, that's him. I jumped out of the car. I dragged producer Katie, like, let's go, we gotta go. I ran straight to his garage while it was opening, as he was pulling up his Tesla. And I stood there and I had to buy time because I knew that Katie hadn't got the cameras rolling yet, or she was still fixing them. She was running and fumbling, right? This is it. This is our chance. So I'm in front of the garage and I remember he pulls down his window and he's like, excuse me. And I'm like, Katie, are you rolling? She's like, yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
David, can I just talk to you right now? I'm a reporter CBC News. I'm a reporter CBC News.
David Doe says, I don't want to be recorded, please.
We've been trying to talk to you for weeks about Mr. Deepfakes and your role in it and why you do what you do. We just want to talk to you about why you do it. In my head, I'm trying to stay calm here because this is really our only shot. I know you have to go, but we want answers. We've been trying to talk to you for weeks. David.
Sorry, I can't talk to you right now. Please let me park my car.
David, there's been thousands of people, like all these people we talk to say they're humiliated, they're victimized. David, you know that. They're being victimized, they feel humiliated, they feel like they're being psychological, emotional damage. Like, why are you doing this?
David Doe gives up on parking the car. His garage door starts closing, and he starts slowly driving away.
Why did you create this website? Stop. But David, why did you create the website? Why are you doing what you do? You see in movies and TV shows, you'd hear the car peeling out, but here you heard Tesla going out with a soft hum backing out of the alley.
Eric's producer, Katie, stops following the car, but keeps filming. It's a wide shot, rows of garage doors down an alley. Eric is walking slowly after the Tesla as it reverses out. His arms out, palms up, beseeching. Eric calls out, you have my number, you have my email. Why are you driving away? David Doe backs up and is gone.
That was our last interaction with David Doe.
Eric posts in the group Signal chat. We got him. Do you want to see the video?
Of course. Yeah, we do.
You know, it just seems like when you found a new series on Netflix and you have to wait until next week for the next episode to drop, right? It was that same feeling. I wanted to see that face, right? And then season finale, boom, you know, series finale even, you know, the whole show ended when we got that video, right? It was that feeling. It was crazy.
I remember sitting at my desk in my office, opening the link, seeing the video, seeing Eric confronting David Doe in the Tesla, like right in his face, asking, what do you want to say to all these women? And I just remember his face, David Doe, like he had this face, closing his eyes, backing his car. He said something like, no, I don't want to be on a camera. And I just thought, you don't want to be on a camera, but all these women on your platform, they didn't want to be in a video.
All he wanted to say was, I don't want to be filmed. I don't want to be filmed. And I thought, isn't that beautifully ironic?
On May 7th, 2025, 4 newsrooms hit publish. The CBC headline was, "This Canadian pharmacist is a key figure behind the world's most notorious deepfake porn site." And the news report went out.
This is the first time someone involved in the website has been identified.
The team watched as ripples from their reporting made their way around the world. And then they watched as those ripples turned into waves.
What we learned soon after was that David Doe had been fired from his job And then he was now under investigation by the College of Pharmacists in Ontario, which is the regulator there, which as the end result could mean losing his license.
Then, a Danish politician started calling for David Doe's extradition, wanting to see him criminally tried in Denmark. Soon after, another politician in the Netherlands did the same.
Like, that's a serious, when people are calling for your extradition, that's a big deal.
But extradition depends on something called double criminality. If a country wants someone extradited, whatever they've been accused of doing usually has to be a crime in both places. And in Canada, David Doe didn't meet the criteria.
It's not illegal to create or share deepfake pornography in Canada yet.
Yet. That spring, the spring of 2025, as the team tracked down David Doe and reported this story, there was an election coming up. Liberal candidate and future Prime Minister Mark Carney made a commitment.
We will make producing and distributing non-consensual sexual deepfakes a criminal offense.
This winter, Canada's Department of Justice told us the same thing. An announcement is coming. A bill will be tabled. And then it happened.
It's such a massive bill. Just give me a sec.
Suzie Dunn was one of the first people who reached out to me after I published that initial story about deepfake porn way back in 2017. She's a law professor at Dalhousie University, where she studies tech-facilitated violence and our digital rights to our identities, our voices, our images. Deepfake porn sits right between those worlds. So when Canada's bill was introduced, she was paying attention.
And if you look to paragraph 15, it says that 162.1, which is the intimate image, is for a term of not more than 10 years.
C-16 proposes changes to make it a crime in Canada, punishable by up to 10 years in prison, to distribute or threaten to distribute intimate images. And it includes deepfakes in that clause.
Where it says it's a visual representation that is made by any electronic or mechanical means and that shows an identifiable person who is depicted as nude, as exposing their sexual organs, or as engaged in sexually explicit activity, if the depiction is likely to be mistaken for a visual recording of that person.
Okay, so what was your first reaction when you saw the changes?
So I'm still really chewing on that language. Like, it was only released in the last few weeks. And the challenge is there's not a lot of laws to compare it to. We're going to see how the courts are going to interpret that language. And then the government might have to circle back and change the language. But I imagine one of the things that the government is really concerned about is making sure that the definition is narrow enough so that it doesn't over broadly impact people's freedom of expression.
Suzie has good reason to hope the Canadian government is concerned about this, because there is another law to compare it to. One, critics say, got this balance disturbingly wrong.
Artificial intelligence and social media are the digital candy for the next generation.
On a sunny May morning in 2025, just as the news was spreading that MrDeepfakes.com had shut down, Melania Trump stepped up to a microphone in front of the White House to make a rare speech in support of a new bill, the Take It Down Act.
This legislation is a powerful step forward in our efforts to ensure that every American, especially young people, can feel better protected from their image.
By the time her husband's Sharpie came out to sign the bill into law, the Take It Down Act was already being framed in the headlines as the solution to non-consensual intimate images, NCII, and specifically deepfake porn.
This legislation, it will criminalize the publication of those images. It will also require social media and similar websites to have procedures in place to remove that content after a notification from the victim.
It then gives these tech companies 48 hours to take it down.
I think that this was pitched as, let's criminalize the actual use of NCII, and then let's give victims a really simple and effective way of removing these images.
Aaron Mackey tracks internet law for a living. He is the Free Speech and Transparency Litigation Director at the Electronic Frontier Foundation, and he's one of those critics.
The problem is the takedown provision doesn't actually map the same definitions of NCII that are found in the criminal provision.
Okay, the Take It Down Act essentially has two parts. The first part made it illegal, at the federal level, to knowingly create or distribute non-consensual intimate images, including deepfakes. And in this part of the law, the definition of what counts as a non-consensual intimate image is written narrowly.
The criminal provisions talk about how it has to be a depiction in which it's clear that it was distributed or published or created as an invasion of privacy or as a means of trying to harm someone.
This is punishable by up to 2 years in prison. And Aaron says that part of the law, which went into effect upon signing last May, is great.
We've needed these federal laws and particularly the criminal penalties for a long time.
The issue, he says, is with the second part of the law, the takedown provision.
The broader concern with this takedown provision of Take It Down is that it may not actually help vindicate victims of NCII, but could also be used as a censorship regime.
The takedown provision defines what is takedownable simply as an intimate visual depiction. That phrasing, Aaron says, is so general, it could, in practice, be used for almost any depiction that someone doesn't like.
And it's sort of rife for abuse.
And I'm going to use that bill for myself, too, if you don't mind. Because nobody gets treated worse than I do online. Nobody.
The fact that the president saw this as a means to use this bill to remove speech that he said was like treating him worse online, right? Just perfectly shows like this is a censorship regime. Its broad terms can be used to take down a whole bunch of speech that is an NCII.
The takedown provision will only become enforceable on May 19th of 2026, 1 year after signing. So it hasn't yet been used in this way, or at all. Only time will tell how it will play out. To be clear, Aaron is not saying there shouldn't be a way for targets of deepfake porn to get that content taken down, just that the law needs to be written more carefully to discourage misuse. And, in addition to the people targeted by deepfake porn, there's another group of victims. People that the Take It Down Act in the US and the proposed Protecting Victims Act in Canada leave out entirely.
This is also a crime against the porn workers' bodies because they haven't asked for their material being used in different ways with other people's faces. When all comes to an end, the biggest key word here is consent.
Taylor Klein, the deepfake target we heard from in episode 2, brought this up as well.
People's work got stolen. Like, that's their property. That's their work. So that's money that's being stolen from them. And it's my consent that's being stolen from me. So there's no, everyone gets hurt in this process. There's no winners here.
So even as these laws are being framed as a solution to deepfake porn, it leaves out the people whose bodies and performances are often the raw material for making it. In Canada, Bill C-16 has not yet been ratified. It still has to go through Parliament. If Bill C-16 does become law, it's unclear what will happen to David Doe, if anything. The website is down. Doe wasn't making this stuff while the law was in place. We reached out to him, putting the same questions and allegations to him as Eric, Ida, Zach, and Ross. But no answer.
So what I would like to ask David Doe would really be like, have you ever thought about the consequences? Have you ever thought about the trauma it is for these women to see themselves and also the consequences for our democracy? I would love for him to tell and elaborate why they deserve it and how he thinks that it is to see oneself in a video like this.
The last time David Doe, or at least someone claiming to be him, really spoke to the media were interviews where he was able to stay anonymous. In a BBC documentary, they put some of those same questions to a person identifying themselves as the owner of Mr. Deepfakes, with an actor speaking his words.
A lot of people will say, how can you create deepfakes of women? How can you respect women if you work on this website? And I guess like a lot of things in life, the answers aren't really simple, right? Part of me is in denial about the impact on women. I can see where women are coming from. I get that there's a cost. Well, the psychological effects can of course affect celebrities as much as non-celebrities. It can affect anybody. I haven't told my wife. I'm also afraid of how it might affect her knowing that I work on something like this. I need to look deep down and see what's acceptable. If laws come out and the laws are fair and right, we will follow the law.
Now that the site is gone, what does that mean for the landscape of deepfakes? Where do you kind of see it landing in like the impact scale of how important this has been?
I don't think anything can eliminate this problem entirely. It's a Pandora's box. So my main objective of doing this is to say to people, okay, you don't have to put up with this. We've used a methodology that people can replicate. So you better believe if another website comes along and gets as big as Mr. Deepfakes, we are going to investigate it. And we're going to set ourselves the challenge of seeing who is behind this site.
A few years ago, deepfake porn still had some barriers to entry. It took skill, time, forums, guides. There was a learning curve. Now, if you want to make deepfake porn, you don't need to learn anything at all. The tools are migrating from niche corners of the internet into mainstream AI systems. In early January 2026, regulators in the UK opened an investigation into X, Twitter, focused on reports that X's chatbot, Grok, was being used to generate sexually explicit synthetic images, including images of underage girls. X is not some niche website or forum. It's a household name platform owned by Elon Musk, the richest man in the world, with a tool for deepfake porn effectively built right in. Taylor Klein was deepfaked back in 2020, before most people had even heard of deepfakes. She sees the growing threat, and she's not about to back down.
I think it's a little bit of a hydra, perhaps, in that deepfakes and the tools to make deepfakes are becoming a lot more accessible than they were at the time that I was deepfaked. But I think that being able to show that we're not just going to let this happen to people goes deeper than just getting Mr. Deepfakes taken down. I think it shows that we as society don't think this is okay, and we're going to fight.
You've been listening to Understood, Deepfake Porn Empire from CBC. The show was written and produced by our showrunner, AC Rowe, with me, your host, Sam Cole. The producers are Arman Agbali and Julian Uzieli, who is also our sound designer. Roshni Nair is our coordinating producer. Our story editor and senior producer is Veronica Simmons. Special thanks to Ida Herskind at Politiken, Zakaria Hameed, and Daniel Greno at CheckDebt, Ross Higgins, Bo Donnelly, and the team at Bellingcat, Eric Szeto, Jordan Pearson, Andrew Kitchen, Katie Pedersen, Christian Pauls Lang, Litza Sortzis, and everyone at the CBC Visual Investigations Unit, and our in-house counsel, Katerina Germani. In this episode, you heard archival tape from CBC and NBC, C-SPAN, and the BBC. The executive producer of Understood, Deepfake Porn Empire is Nick McCabe-Locos. The executive producers of CBC Podcasts are Chris Oak and Cecil Fernandez. Tanya Springer is the senior manager. Arif Noorani is the director, and Leslie Merklinger is the executive director of CBC Podcasts. Karen Burgess is the managing editor of CBC News Podcasts. I'm Sam Cole. You can listen to me every week on the 404 Media Podcast. You should also check out the last season of Understood I hosted by scrolling back in your feed to season 2, The Pornhub Empire. I tell the history of the Montreal porn scene, and what happens when we let moral panic write tech policy. And make sure you subscribe, because Understood will be back with a new season in the spring.